Marcus Thompson had always been a man of ambition. Born into humble beginnings in a small town, he grew up watching his mother, Evelyn Thompson, work tirelessly to provide for their family. Evelyn was a woman of grit and determination, working double shifts as a nurse while ensuring Marcus never lacked anything essential. She taught him the value of hard work, resilience, and integrity, instilling in him a dream bigger than their modest surroundings. By the time Marcus turned 30, he had transformed that dream into reality. He became the CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech company, breaking barriers as one of the few black executives in his industry. Despite his meteoric rise, Marcus remained grounded, attributing much of his success to Evelyn's sacrifices. He often said, "If it weren't for my mom, I wouldn't be where I am today." Now in his early 40s, Marcus stood at the pinnacle of his career, admired by many and respected by all who knew him. But life wasn't just about professional achievements anymore. Marcus had found someone special, Victoria Lane, a stunning, accomplished attorney from an affluent background. Their relationship seemed like a match made in heaven. Victoria was smart, confident, and poised, the kind of woman people assumed would complement Marcus perfectly. To the outside world, Victoria appeared flawless. She came from a wealthy family, graduated top of her class from a prestigious law school, and worked at a high-profile firm. Her polished demeanor and eloquent speech charmed everyone she met, including Marcus. For him, she represented everything he thought he wanted in a partner: sophistication, ambition, and grace. The couple had been dating for over 2 years, and their engagement announcement sent ripples of excitement through their social circles. Friends and colleagues couldn't stop gushing about how perfect they were together. Even Evelyn, Marcus's ever-supportive mother, initially warmed to Victoria, attending dinners and events with a smile on her face. But beneath Evelyn's polite exterior lay a growing unease. As much as she tried to convince herself otherwise, something about Victoria didn't sit right with her. It wasn't anything obvious, at least not at first. Victoria was courteous, attentive, and seemingly devoted to Marcus. Yet there were moments when Evelyn caught glimpses of something else, subtle hints that troubled her deeply. During conversations, Victoria often steered the topic toward Marcus's wealth and influence, marveling at his accomplishments but rarely asking about his passions or personal struggles. On several occasions, Evelyn noticed how Victoria dismissed her concerns with a condescending smile, brushing them off as mere overprotectiveness. One particular incident stood out vividly in Evelyn's mind. At a family dinner hosted by Marcus, Victoria casually mentioned how marrying someone like Marcus would open doors for her professionally. She laughed it off as a joke, but Evelyn detected a flicker of calculation in her eyes. Later that evening, Evelyn confronted Marcus, gently expressing her reservations. "I'm not saying she doesn't care about you," Evelyn said carefully, "but have you noticed how often she talks about your money? It feels transactional." Marcus frowned, irritated by her comments. "Mom, you're reading too much into things," he replied. "Victoria loves me for who I am, not what I have." Evelyn let the matter drop, unwilling to push further and risk alienating her son. Still, the nagging feeling persisted. She couldn't shake the sense that Victoria was hiding something, that beneath her polished exterior lay a side of her personality she kept carefully concealed. Determined to uncover the truth, Evelyn devised a plan, one that required courage, resourcefulness, and a fair amount of deception. She decided to go undercover, disguising herself as someone else entirely to observe Victoria without raising suspicion. The idea came to her late one night after hours of restless contemplation. If Victoria truly loved Marcus, then Evelyn's fears would prove unfounded. But if her instincts were correct, exposing Victoria's true nature could save Marcus from heartbreak and potentially financial ruin. With her mind made up, Evelyn began preparing for her mission. She scoured thrift stores for plain, nondescript clothing and practiced speaking in a softer, more hesitant tone to mask her identity. Using a fake name, Margaret, she secured a job as a house cleaner at Victoria's upscale apartment building, knowing it would give her access to Victoria's private space. On her first day as Margaret, Evelyn felt a mix of nerves and resolve. Dressed in baggy jeans and a faded sweater, she blended seamlessly with the other cleaning staff. Victoria barely acknowledged her presence, too preoccupied with phone calls and emails to notice the older woman tidying up around her. Evelyn took note of every detail: the expensive furniture, the designer handbags casually tossed on chairs, the framed photos showcasing Victoria's glamorous lifestyle. But it wasn't until she overheard a snippet of Victoria's conversation that Evelyn's suspicions deepened. While dusting the living room, Evelyn caught Victoria talking animatedly on the phone. "Honestly, Sarah," Victoria said, laughing lightly, "he's such a catch. I mean, once we're married, I won't have to worry about anything ever again. He's loaded." Evelyn froze, her hands gripping the duster tightly. The word stung, confirming her worst fears. Victoria wasn't in love with Marcus. She saw him as a means to an end. Though Evelyn managed to maintain her composure, her heart sank. This wasn't just a hunch anymore. It was a cold, hard fact. As days turned into weeks, Evelyn continued her covert operation, gathering bits and pieces of information that painted an increasingly disturbing picture. Victoria's dismissive attitude toward Marcus's long hours, her frequent complaints about his intensity, and her habit of charging extravagant purchases to his credit card all pointed to a calculated agenda. Evelyn knew she had to tread carefully, collecting concrete evidence before confronting anyone. Little did she realize, however, that her investigation was only beginning, and the truth she sought would be far more shocking than she imagined. Evelyn, now fully immersed in her role as Margaret, began to notice patterns in Victoria's behavior that confirmed her worst fears. Every morning, she arrived at the luxurious apartment building dressed in her worn-out cleaning uniform, carrying a bucket of supplies and a notebook tucked discreetly inside her bag. The notebook wasn't for work. It was Evelyn's secret tool to document everything she observed about Victoria. She knew she couldn't rely solely on gut feelings. She needed hard evidence to prove her suspicions. Victoria's daily routine gave Evelyn plenty of opportunities to observe her closely. Each day, Victoria left for work around 8:30 a.m., returning home late in the evening. During those hours, Evelyn cleaned her apartment meticulously, paying close attention to details most people wouldn't notice. One afternoon, while dusting Victoria's desk, Evelyn spotted a stack of papers carelessly left out. Among them was a letter addressed to Victoria from a luxury travel agency, confirming reservations for a week-long stay at an exclusive resort in the Maldives. What caught Evelyn's eye, however, was the billing information. Marcus's company credit card had been used to pay for the trip. Evelyn felt a pang of anger but quickly reminded herself to stay focused. She snapped a quick photo of the document with her phone before continuing her work. Over the next few days, similar discoveries piled up. Receipts for designer dresses, expensive jewelry, and spa treatments, all charged to Marcus's accounts, were scattered throughout the apartment. Evelyn realized that Victoria was living lavishly off Marcus's money without his knowledge. It became clear that Victoria wasn't just using Marcus emotionally, she was exploiting him financially too. But the most damning revelation came one quiet Tuesday afternoon. Evelyn had finished vacuuming the living room when she heard Victoria's voice echoing through the hallway. She hadn't expected Victoria to be home so early, but luckily Evelyn managed to slip into the kitchen unnoticed. From her hiding spot, she could hear Victoria speaking loudly on the phone. At first it sounded like a casual conversation, but soon the tone shifted. Victoria's voice grew sharper, more calculating. "Look, Liam," Victoria said, lowering her voice slightly but still audible enough for Evelyn to catch every word. "This whole marriage thing is just a stepping stone. Once we're married, I'll file for divorce within 6 months. By then, I'll have access to half of his assets. Trust me, it'll be worth it." Evelyn's blood ran cold. Her hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the counter, trying to steady herself. This wasn't just greed. This was a deliberate plan. Victoria wasn't marrying Marcus because she loved him. She was marrying him to secure his wealth. Evelyn's mind raced with questions. Who was Liam? Was he an accomplice in this scheme? And how long had Victoria been planning this betrayal? The conversation ended abruptly, leaving Evelyn shaken. She waited until Victoria left the apartment again before slipping back into her role as Margaret. That evening, after finishing her shift, Evelyn returned to her small apartment, her thoughts consumed by what she had overheard. She sat at her kitchen table, staring blankly at the photos and notes she had collected. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but the bigger picture terrified her. How could she break this news to Marcus without destroying their relationship in the process? Evelyn spent hours strategizing, weighing her options. Confronting Victoria directly would only put her cover at risk, potentially ruining any chance of gathering more evidence. On the other hand, approaching Marcus outright might backfire if he refused to believe her. After all, he was deeply in love with Victoria, blind to the truth despite the red flags. Evelyn decided to take a cautious approach, continuing her investigation, while carefully planting seeds of doubt in Marcus's mind. Over the following weeks, Evelyn doubled down on her efforts. She paid closer attention to Victoria's interactions with others, noting how dismissive she was toward anyone she deemed beneath her status. When delivering groceries or packages, delivery drivers were often treated rudely, while wealthy acquaintances received glowing praise. Evelyn also discovered that Victoria frequently lied about her whereabouts, claiming to attend networking events or charity galas, but instead spending time at high-end boutiques or lounging at upscale cafes. One particularly telling moment occurred when Evelyn overheard another tenant gossiping about Victoria in the building's lobby. The woman mentioned seeing Victoria arguing with a man outside a nightclub late one night. According to the tenant, the man looked angry and kept yelling something about sticking to the plan. Evelyn's heart sank further. Could this mysterious man be Liam? If so, it meant Victoria's deception ran deeper than Evelyn initially thought. Despite the mounting evidence, Evelyn struggled with guilt. She hated deceiving Marcus, even if it was for his own good. As much as she wanted to protect him, she knew her actions could damage their relationship irreparably. Still, she reminded herself why she started this mission, to save her son from a lifetime of pain. With renewed determination, Evelyn vowed to see it through, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Marcus remained oblivious to the storm brewing behind the scenes. He was busy planning the wedding, pouring his heart and soul into creating a perfect day for Victoria. He spent hours discussing seating arrangements, floral designs, and honeymoon destinations, completely unaware of the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface. Whenever Evelyn tried to subtly warn him, Marcus dismissed her concerns with a wave of his hand. "Mom, you're overthinking this," Marcus said during one of their rare conversations. "Victoria loves me. She's committed to making our marriage work. You need to trust her." Evelyn bit her tongue, forcing herself to smile. "I hope you're right, sweetheart," she replied softly. Inside, her heart ached. She wanted nothing more than to shake Marcus awake, to make him see the truth. But she knew she couldn't force him to listen. Not yet, anyway. As the weeks passed, Evelyn found herself growing increasingly frustrated. Her double life as Margaret was taking its toll, both physically and emotionally. Cleaning apartments all day left her exhausted, while the constant fear of being discovered weighed heavily on her mind. Yet, she refused to give up. Every new piece of evidence strengthened her resolve, reminding her of the stakes involved. One evening, while organizing the documents she had gathered, Evelyn stumbled upon something that made her stomach churn. Hidden among Victoria's files was a draft of a prenuptial agreement, except it wasn't what it seemed. Instead of protecting Marcus's assets, the document appeared designed to ensure Victoria walked away with the majority of his fortune, in the event of a divorce. Evelyn's hands shook as she read the fine print. It was clear now. Victoria wasn't just planning to betray Marcus. She intended to leave him financially crippled. With this latest discovery, Evelyn realized she couldn't delay any longer. She needed to act, and fast. But how? Telling Marcus outright risked alienating him entirely, especially if he refused to believe her. Presenting the evidence anonymously might raise suspicion, and confronting Victoria directly would only escalate the situation. Evelyn knew she had to find a way to present the truth gently, giving Marcus space to come to terms with it on his own. That night, Evelyn lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her mind buzzed with possibilities, each one more daunting than the last. She thought about Marcus, the boy who once dreamed of greatness, the man who worked tirelessly to achieve it. He deserved better than someone like Victoria, someone who saw him as nothing more than a means to an end. Evelyn vowed to do whatever it took to protect him, even if it meant facing his anger and disappointment along the way. Little did Evelyn know her journey was far from over. The truth she uncovered was just the beginning of a chain reaction that would test not only her relationship with Marcus, but also her faith in humanity itself. Evelyn's resolve hardened as she stared at the pile of evidence on her kitchen table. The draft of the prenuptial agreement, the photos of receipts charged to Marcus's accounts, and the notes from Victoria's incriminating conversations, all of it painted a damning picture. Yet Evelyn knew that presenting this information to Marcus wouldn't be easy. Her son was head over heels in love with Victoria, blind to her manipulative nature. Convincing him to see the truth would require tact, patience, and an unshakable belief in his ability to handle the harsh reality. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at Victoria's apartment building earlier than usual, her mind racing with plans. As Margaret, she continued her routine, cleaning meticulously while keeping an ear out for any new clues. But today, her focus wasn't just on gathering more evidence. It was on finding a way to approach Marcus without jeopardizing her cover. She couldn't risk being exposed as Margaret. Doing so might make Marcus dismiss everything she revealed as part of some elaborate scheme. Evelyn needed to find another way to plant seeds of doubt in his mind, something subtle yet effective. That evening, after finishing her shift, Evelyn decided to visit Marcus at his penthouse. It had been weeks since they'd spent quality time together, and she hoped a casual conversation might give her the opening she needed. When she arrived, Marcus greeted her warmly, offering her a glass of wine and asking about her day. Evelyn hesitated before speaking, choosing her words carefully. "Marcus," she began, setting her glass down, "I've been thinking a lot lately about your relationship with Victoria. You know I only want what's best for you, right?" Marcus nodded, though his expression grew guarded. "Of course, Mom. But we've talked about this before. I know you're protective of me, but Victoria loves me. She's amazing." Evelyn sighed, leaning forward slightly. "I understand that, sweetheart. And I truly hope she does love you. But have you noticed how often she talks about your success? About your wealth? Sometimes people can get distracted by the things money can bring." Marcus frowned, clearly uncomfortable with where the conversation was heading. "Mom, please don't start this again. We've discussed it and I trust Victoria completely." Evelyn bit her lip, resisting the urge to argue further. Instead, she changed tactics. "All right, let's set that aside for now. Have you ever wondered why she insists on handling so many financial decisions for the wedding? Or why she seems so eager to finalize the guest list and seating arrangements but avoids discussing long-term plans like buying a house or starting a family?" Marcus shifted uneasily in his seat. "She's just organized, Mom. That's one of the things I love about her. She takes care of details so I don't have to stress." Evelyn smiled softly, though inside her heart ached. "I'm sure she is organized, sweetheart. All I'm saying is, maybe take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Love should never feel like a transaction." The conversation ended soon after, leaving Marcus visibly frustrated. Later that night, Evelyn replayed their exchange her mind feeling both guilty and determined. She hadn't expected him to accept her concerns outright, but she hoped her words might linger in his thoughts, planting a seed of doubt. If nothing else, it was a start. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn continued balancing her dual roles as Margaret and Marcus's mother. At work, she remained vigilant, uncovering even more unsettling details about Victoria. One afternoon, while cleaning Victoria's closet, Evelyn stumbled upon a locked drawer tucked discreetly beneath a shelf. Intrigued, she glanced around to ensure no one was watching before pulling a hairpin from her pocket. a trick she'd learned during her nursing days. Within moments, the lock clicked open, revealing a folder stuffed with documents. Evelyn's. Breath caught in her throat as she flipped through the contents. Among the papers were emails exchanged between Victoria and someone named Liam, emails detailing their plan to file for divorce shortly after the wedding and split Marcus's assets. There were also spreadsheets outlining potential legal strategies, including ways to challenge prenuptial agreements and maximize payouts. Evelyn felt sick to her stomach as she realized the depth of Victoria's betrayal. This wasn't just greed. It was a calculated conspiracy designed to destroy Marcus financially and emotionally. Knowing she couldn't leave the folder behind, Evelyn quickly snapped photos of the documents with her phone before returning them to the drawer and relocking it. She slipped out of the apartment unnoticed, her mind spinning with questions. Who exactly was Liam? Was he a lawyer, an accomplice, or perhaps someone closer to Victoria than she let on? And how could Evelyn use this information to protect Marcus without crossing a line? That night, Evelyn sat at her kitchen table once again, staring at the photos on her phone. She knew she had to act. But how? Telling Marcus outright risked alienating him entirely, especially if he refused to believe her. Presenting the evidence, anonymously might raise suspicion, and confronting Victoria directly would only escalate the situation. After hours of deliberation, Evelyn came up with a plan. She decided to invite Marcus over for dinner under the pretense of catching up. During the meal, she would subtly steer the conversation toward relationships and trust, dropping hints about Victoria's behavior without directly accusing her. If Marcus showed any willingness to listen, Evelyn would then present the evidence, not as Margaret's findings, but as anonymous tips she claimed to have received from a concerned friend. It was risky, but it might give Marcus the chance to connect the dots himself. When the day of the dinner finally arrived, Evelyn prepared Marcus's favorite dishes, hoping to create a relaxed atmosphere. As they ate, she broached the topic cautiously. You know, Marcus, sometimes people enter our lives not because they genuinely care about us, but because they see an opportunity. It's important to recognize the difference. Marcus paused, mid-bite, raising an eyebrow. What are you trying to say, Mom? Evelyn hesitated, then pushed forward. I've heard some things recently. Rumors, really, about certain behaviors that made me question intentions. Not everyone has pure motives, sweetheart, even those who seem perfect on the surface. Marcus frowned, setting his fork down. Are you talking about Victoria? Because if you are, I don't appreciate these rumors affecting my relationship. Evelyn held up her hands defensively. I'm not accusing anyone. I just think it's worth considering. Here, look. At this. She slid her phone across the table, showing him the photos of the emails and financial records. Someone sent these to me anonymously. They claim Victoria might not be as trustworthy as she appears. Marcus stared at the screen, his face pale. For a moment he said nothing, his eyes scanning the documents in disbelief. Then abruptly, he stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. This is ridiculous, Mom. How do I even know these are real? You expect me to believe some random person sent you this? Or worse, that you somehow got hold of this yourself? Evelyn winced, bracing herself for his reaction. Marcus, I know it's hard to hear, but... No! Marcus interrupted, his voice rising. You've been against Victoria from the beginning. You're jealous of her, aren't you? Trying to sabotage my happiness. His words cut deep, but Evelyn forced herself to remain calm. I'm not jealous, Marcus. I'm scared. For you. Please, just look at the facts. Think about the signs. Does any of this sound familiar? But Marcus wasn't listening anymore. He grabbed his coat and stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind him. Evelyn sank into her chair, tears welling in her eyes. She had hoped to save him gently, to guide him toward the truth without breaking their bond. Instead, she had pushed him away, leaving him angrier and more confused than ever. Over the next few days, Evelyn avoided contacting Marcus, giving him space to process what she had shown him. Meanwhile, she returned to her role as Margaret, continuing to observe Victoria closely. Despite the tension with Marcus, Evelyn refused to give up. She knew the truth would eventually come to light. It always did. What mattered now was ensuring Marcus saw it for himself in his own time. One evening, while cleaning Victoria's office, Evelyn overheard another phone call. This time, Victoria sounded panicked. "Liam, he knows something," she whispered urgently. "He's acting weird, asking questions. We need to speed things up before he figures everything out." Evelyn's heart raced. It seemed Marcus was beginning to suspect something, even if he hadn't fully confronted Victoria yet. Evelyn allowed herself a small smile. Maybe her efforts hadn't been in vain after all. Whatever happened next, she knew Marcus would have to face the truth, and when he did, she would be there to support him, no matter what. The days following Marcus's explosive reaction to Evelyn's revelations were tense and unsettling. For the first time in years, a palpable distance had grown between mother and son. Marcus avoided Evelyn's calls and messages, retreating into his own world as he grappled with the conflicting emotions swirling inside him. He wanted to believe that Evelyn was wrong, that Victoria was the woman he thought she was, but the seeds of doubt she had planted refused to go away. Every interaction with Victoria now felt laced with suspicion, every word she spoke carrying hidden meanings. Victoria, for her part, seemed oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. She continued living her life as if nothing had changed, juggling work commitments, planning extravagant details for the wedding, and casually dropping hints about their future together. "Once we're married," she'd say during dinner, "we should buy one of those beachfront properties in Malibu." Imagine waking up to the ocean every morning. Her tone was light, almost playful, but Marcus found himself scrutinizing her words more closely than ever before. Was she genuinely excited about their future, or was this just another calculated move to secure his wealth? One evening, after a particularly long day at the office, Marcus returned home to find Victoria lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She greeted him with a bright smile, holding up a magazine article about luxury honeymoons. "Look at this, Marcus. Wouldn't it be amazing to spend 2 weeks in Bora Bora? I already bookmarked some villas." Marcus forced a smile, though his stomach churned. "That sounds nice," he said cautiously. "But maybe we should focus on the wedding first. We still have so much to finalize." Victoria waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, don't worry about that. I've got everything under control. You trust me, don't you?" Her question hung in the air like a challenge. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. "Of course I do." But deep down, he wasn't sure anymore. The doubts Evelyn had raised gnawed at him relentlessly, making it impossible to ignore the inconsistencies in Victoria's behavior. Why did she always talk about money and possessions when they discussed their future? Why did she insist on handling all the financial aspects of the wedding without consulting him? And why did she seem so eager to rush things along? Over the next few days, Marcus began paying closer attention to Victoria's actions. He noticed how she frequently complained about his demanding schedule, calling him too intense and saying she only tolerated it because it'll all be worth it eventually. At first he dismissed these comments as harmless venting, but now they took on a sinister undertone. Each remark felt like another piece of the puzzle falling into place, confirming what Evelyn had tried to warn him about. Then came the receipts. One afternoon, while searching for a tie in Victoria's closet, Marcus stumbled upon a stack of shopping bags tucked behind a row of shoes. Curious, he opened one and discovered designer dresses, handbags, and accessories, all bearing price tags that made his jaw drop. What shocked him even more was the fact that many of the items had been purchased using his credit card, purchases he knew nothing about. His hands trembled as he sifted through the bags, his mind racing with questions. Had Victoria been siphoning off his money this entire time? If so, how much had she spent? Determined to get answers, Marcus decided to dig deeper. That evening, he logged into his online banking account and reviewed recent transactions. What he found left him reeling. Hundreds of thousands of dollars had been charged to his accounts over the past year, most of them linked to high-end stores and luxury services. Some charges were labeled vaguely, masking their true purpose, while others were outright fraudulent. Marcus felt a wave of nausea wash over him as the enormity of the betrayal sank in. Fueled by anger and hurt, Marcus confronted Victoria the next morning. "What is this?" he demanded, slamming printouts of the transactions onto the kitchen counter. "Care to explain why my credit cards are being used for things I never authorized?" Victoria froze, her eyes widening in panic. For a moment she looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then, quickly regaining her composure, she laughed nervously. "Oh, Marcus, don't be silly. Those must be mistakes. You know how busy I am. I probably forgot to tell you about some of those purchases. Let me call the bank and sort it out." But Marcus wasn't buying it. "Don't lie to me, Victoria. I know exactly what's going on. My mom showed me the emails, the prenup draft, everything. Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Victoria's mask slipped completely, revealing the cold, calculating woman beneath. Her lips curled into a sneer as she crossed her arms defiantly. "So your meddling mother finally spilled the beans, huh? I should have known she'd try something like this. She's always hated me, jealous of what we have." "We don't have anything." Marcus shouted, his voice trembling with rage. "You never cared about me, did you? This whole relationship has been a scam, a way to get your hands on my money." Victoria shrugged, no longer pretending to care. "Fine, you caught me. Yes, I saw an opportunity and took it. So what? Do you really think anyone would marry you? For love? Face it, Marcus, you're not exactly Prince Charming material. Your mom practically raised you herself because your dad bailed. You're successful now, sure, but let's be honest, without your money, you're nothing special." Her words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. He staggered back, stunned by her cruelty. All the love and admiration he once felt for her evaporated in an instant, replaced by a seething hatred. "Get out," he said quietly, his voice shaking with barely contained fury. "Pack your things and leave. I never want to see you again." Victoria hesitated, perhaps realizing she had pushed too far, but Marcus's expression left no room for negotiation. Grabbing her purse and keys, she stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind her. Marcus collapsed onto the couch, overwhelmed by a mix of relief and devastation. The woman he had planned to spend his life with was gone, exposed as a fraud. Yet, despite the pain, he couldn't help but feel grateful for Evelyn's intervention. Without her, he might have walked blindly into a marriage that would have destroyed him. Later that evening, Marcus picked up his phone and dialed Evelyn's number. When she answered, her voice was hesitant, tinged with worry. "Marcus? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Mom," he replied, his tone softening. "Actually, I need to talk to you. Can I come over?" "Of course," Evelyn said, relief flooding her voice. "I'll make tea." When Marcus arrived at Evelyn's apartment, she greeted him with open arms, pulling him into a tight embrace. For a moment, neither of them spoke, the weight of recent events hanging heavy in the air. Finally, Marcus pulled back, looking into his mother's eyes. "Mom, I owe you an apology. I didn't believe you when you tried to warn me about Victoria. I was too blind to see the truth." Evelyn shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "You don't need to apologize, sweetheart. I understand how hard it must have been to hear those things about someone you loved. All I ever wanted was to protect you, and you did," Marcus said firmly. "If it weren't for you, I would have married her and lost everything. Thank you for having the courage to stand up for me, even when I didn't deserve it." Evelyn smiled through her tears, patting his hand affectionately. "You're my son, Marcus. Protecting you is what mothers do. No matter how tough things get, we stick together, okay?" Marcus nodded, feeling a renewed sense of gratitude for the woman who had sacrificed so much for him. Together they sat at the kitchen table, sharing stories and laughter late into the night. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt at peace, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would always have Evelyn by his side. As dawn broke, the next morning Marcus stepped out onto Evelyn's balcony, watching the sun rise over the city skyline. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Rebuilding his trust in relationships and moving forward from the betrayal would take time. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. grateful for the love and strength that had carried him through the darkest chapter of his life. Whatever happened next, he knew he wasn't alone. The days following Victoria's departure were a whirlwind of emotions for Marcus. On one hand, he felt an immense sense of relief, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. The woman who had manipulated and betrayed him was gone, and with her exit came clarity. He could finally see the truth. Victoria had never loved him. She had only seen him as a means to an end. But on the other hand, the betrayal left deep scars, ones that wouldn't heal overnight. Trust, once broken, was hard to rebuild, and Marcus found himself questioning every interaction, every relationship in his life. Evelyn, sensing her son's fragile state, became his anchor during this turbulent time. She cooked his favorite meals, listened patiently as he vented his frustrations, and reminded him of his worth whenever self-doubt crept in. "You're stronger than this, Marcus," she would say gently. "What happened wasn't your fault. You trusted someone and they took advantage of that trust. Don't let it define you." Her words provided comfort, but Marcus still struggled to shake off the lingering bitterness. He canceled the wedding plans, returned deposits, and informed their friends and family about the breakup. While most people expressed sympathy, others whispered behind his back, speculating about what went wrong. Some even blamed Evelyn, accusing her of meddling in Marcus's affairs. Hearing these rumors hurt, but Marcus refused to let them affect him. He knew the truth, and that was all that mattered. As weeks turned into months, Marcus threw himself into work, using his career as a distraction from the emotional turmoil. His tech company thrived under his leadership, earning accolades and expanding into new markets. Colleagues praised his dedication, unaware of the personal battles he fought outside the office walls. Despite his outward success, however, Marcus couldn't ignore the emptiness inside. For years he had envisioned building a future with someone special, a partner who shared his values and dreams. Now, that vision seemed shattered. One evening, after another long day at the office, Marcus attended a charity gala hosted by a local nonprofit organization. It wasn't something he usually did, but Evelyn had encouraged him to go, insisting it might help take his mind off things. Reluctantly, he agreed, dressing in a sharp suit and arriving at the event alone. The venue was elegant, filled with soft music, twinkling lights, and guests mingling over hors d'oeuvres. Marcus wandered through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries with acquaintances but keeping mostly to himself. That's when he saw her. Standing near the bar, chatting animatedly with a group of volunteers, was Sarah Bennett. She was nothing like Victoria. No designer dresses or flashy jewelry adorned her frame. Instead, she wore a simple yet stylish dress, her warm smile lighting up the room. Her dark hair cascaded loosely over her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled with genuine kindness. Something about her presence drew Marcus in, compelling him to approach. "Hi," he said hesitantly, offering a polite smile. "I'm Marcus Thompson." Sarah turned to face him, her expression brightening. "Nice to meet you, Marcus. I'm Sarah Bennett. I work with a nonprofit. They focus on helping underserved communities access education and healthcare." Marcus nodded, intrigued. "That's impressive. How long have you been involved with them?" "For about 5 years now," Sarah replied, her passion evident in her voice. "It's rewarding work. We're trying to make a real difference, one step at a time." They continued talking, discovering shared interests in social causes and community development. Unlike Victoria, who often steered conversations toward material wealth, Sarah spoke passionately about creating opportunities for others. Her humility and sincerity stood out, refreshing compared to the superficiality Marcus had endured in his previous relationship. By the end of the evening, Marcus realized he didn't want their conversation to end. Summoning his courage, he asked, "Would you like to grab coffee sometime? Maybe we can discuss some of those initiatives you mentioned." Sarah smiled, clearly pleased by the invitation. "I'd love that. Let me give you my number." Over the next few weeks, Marcus and Sarah grew closer, meeting regularly for coffee dinners and walks in the park. Their connection felt natural, built on mutual respect and shared values rather than fleeting attraction. Sarah admired Marcus's ambition and drive, while Marcus appreciated Sarah's compassion and authenticity. For the first time since the fallout with Victoria, Marcus began to feel hopeful about love again. Evelyn noticed the change in her son almost immediately. Gone was the brooding man who barely smiled. In his place stood someone rejuvenated, eager to embrace life once more. When Marcus introduced Sarah to Evelyn during a casual lunch, the two women hit it off instantly. Evelyn saw in Sarah everything she had hoped for Marcus, a kind-hearted, down-to-earth partner who valued him for who he truly was, not for his wealth or status. As their relationship blossomed, Marcus made a conscious effort to communicate openly with Sarah, ensuring no secrets lingered between them. He told her about his past with Victoria, sharing the painful details without hesitation. To his surprise, Sarah listened without judgment, offering words of encouragement and understanding. "Everyone deserves a second chance at happiness," she said softly, "and you deserve someone who truly loves you." Their bond deepened further when Marcus invited Sarah to join him at a family gathering hosted by Evelyn. The event brought together close friends and relatives, filling the house with laughter and warmth. Watching Marcus interact with Sarah, Evelyn felt a swell of pride. This was the kind of relationship she had always envisioned for her son, one rooted in honesty, trust, and genuine affection. Months later, Marcus stood on the same balcony where he had watched the sunrise after ending things with Victoria. This time, though, he wasn't alone. Sarah joined him, leaning against the railing as they gazed at the city skyline bathed in golden light. "You've come so far, Marcus," she said quietly. "Look how much you've grown." Marcus smiled, taking her hand in his. "I couldn't have done it without you or my mom. She's the reason I'm here today, standing tall instead of crumbling under everything that happened." Sarah nodded, her eyes reflecting admiration. "She's an amazing woman. You're lucky to have her." "I know," Marcus replied, squeezing her hand. "And I'm lucky to have you too." In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of the city and the love of someone who truly cared, Marcus felt complete. The wounds inflicted by Victoria's betrayal hadn't disappeared entirely, but they no longer controlled him. With Sarah by his side and Evelyn's unwavering support, he had found a new beginning, one filled with hope, purpose, and unconditional love. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Marcus silently thanked the universe for guiding him to this point. Life had tested him, pushing him to confront pain and doubt head-on. But through it all, he had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace whatever the future held. And for the first time in a long time, he believed wholeheartedly that the best was yet to come. Months passed, and Marcus's life transformed in ways he never thought possible. The bitterness and mistrust that had once consumed him slowly gave way to a renewed sense of purpose and joy. With Sarah by his side, he rediscovered what it meant to love and be loved genuinely. Their relationship wasn't perfect. No relationship ever was. But it was built on honesty, respect, and shared values. For Marcus, that made all the difference. Evelyn watched her son's transformation with pride. She saw how much happier he was now, how his smile reached his eyes again. It filled her heart with gratitude, knowing that her actions, however difficult they had been at the time, had ultimately saved him from a lifetime of pain. Still, Evelyn couldn't help but reflect on the journey she'd undertaken as Margaret. Going undercover to expose Victoria's true nature had been one of the hardest decisions of her life. While it had worked out in the end, the strain it placed on her relationship with Marcus during those tense weeks haunted her. One afternoon, as Evelyn sat in her cozy living room sipping tea, Marcus walked in unannounced. He greeted her warmly, handing her a bouquet of fresh flowers. "These are for you, Mom," he said with a soft smile. "I just wanted to say thank you for everything." Evelyn accepted the flowers, touched by the gesture. "You don't need to thank me, sweetheart. I did what any mother would do." "No," Marcus replied firmly. "What you did went above and beyond. You risked our relationship because you believed in protecting me. And even though I didn't understand at first, I see now how much courage it took. So yes, I owe you more than just thanks." His words brought tears to Evelyn's eyes. Setting the flowers aside, she pulled him into a tight hug. All I've ever wanted is for you to be happy, Marcus. Seeing you with Sarah, seeing the man you've become, it's all I could have hoped for. They spent the rest of the afternoon reminiscing about the past, laughing over old memories, and discussing plans for the future. Marcus mentioned how he and Sarah were considering moving in together soon, a step that excited both of them. Evelyn listened intently, offering advice when asked, but mostly letting Marcus share his excitement. It was clear that Sarah had brought light back into his life, and Evelyn couldn't have been happier for him. As spring turned to summer, Marcus and Sarah decided to take their relationship to the next level. One evening, while strolling along the beach at sunset, Marcus knelt down on one knee and proposed. Sarah's face lit up with delight as she said yes, throwing her arms around him in a joyful embrace. News of their engagement spread quickly among family and friends, bringing an outpouring of support and well wishes. The wedding planning process was vastly different from Marcus's previous experience. This time, there were no extravagant demands or hidden agendas, just two people working together to create a day that reflected their love and commitment. Sarah insisted on keeping things simple yet meaningful, focusing on including only close family and friends. Evelyn played a key role in helping organize the event, ensuring every detail aligned with the couple's vision. On the morning of the wedding, Evelyn stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her dress and pinning a strand of hair into place. Her heart swelled with emotion as she thought about how far they had come. From the dark days of uncovering Victoria's betrayal to this moment of pure happiness, their journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. As she prepared to leave for the venue, Marcus knocked gently on her door. "Mom," he called, peeking inside. "Are you ready?" Evelyn turned to face him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Almost. Come here, let me look at you." Marcus stepped closer, dressed impeccably in a classic black suit. His expression radiated confidence and contentment, a stark contrast to the uncertainty he had carried before. Evelyn cupped his cheek affectionately. "You look so handsome. I'm so proud of you, Marcus." "I couldn't have done it without you," Marcus said softly. "Today wouldn't be happening if it weren't for your strength and wisdom." Evelyn shook her head, smiling through her tears. "None of this is because of me. It's because of who you are, a strong, kind, incredible man who deserves every bit of happiness coming his way." They embraced tightly before heading to the venue, where guests were already gathering. The ceremony took place outdoors under a canopy of twinkling lights surrounded by lush greenery and fragrant flowers. Friends and family looked on as Marcus and Sarah exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through life's joys and challenges. Evelyn sat in the front row, clutching a tissue as tears streamed down her face. Watching her son marry someone who truly cherished him filled her with indescribable joy. During the reception, Evelyn delivered a heartfelt speech that left not a dry eye in the room. "When Marcus was born, I promised myself I would do everything in my power to ensure he found happiness," she began, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "Life hasn't always been easy for us, but we've faced every challenge together. Today, seeing Marcus with Sarah, I know I kept that promise. Sarah, welcome to our family. You've brought light and love into our lives, and we're so grateful to have you." Applause erupted as Evelyn returned to her seat, overwhelmed by the warmth surrounding her. Later, as the newlyweds danced under the stars, Marcus caught Evelyn's gaze and mouthed a silent thank you. She nodded, her heart full. In the months that followed, Marcus and Sarah settled into married life, building a home filled with laughter, love, and shared dreams. They continued supporting causes close to their hearts, using their resources to make a positive impact in their community. Evelyn remained a constant presence in their lives, cherishing the bond they shared as a family. Looking back, Evelyn realized that her decision to go undercover as Margaret had been worth every sacrifice. Yes, it had tested her relationship with Marcus, but it had also strengthened their connection in profound ways. Together, they had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, united by a love that transcended adversity. As she sat on her porch, One quiet evening, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Evelyn felt a deep sense of peace. Life was unpredictable, often throwing curveballs when least expected. But through it all, one thing remained certain: family, and the love that bound them was the foundation of true happiness. And for Evelyn, Marcus, and Sarah, that foundation was unshakable.